To my video on writing an equation in slope-intercept form from a table. So we already looked at this before, how to find a slope in a table. So we actually already did these exact notes earlier, but now we're going to take what we learned earlier and now we're going to write the equation, because before we just found the slope and the y-intercept, and now we're going to take it and actually write the equation in slope-intercept form. So we're going to review something we did previously. So it says find the y-intercept in the table. Remember, the y-intercept will always be paired with 0 as the x value. Okay, so the second step is to plot the y-intercept on the graph. And the y-intercept is when x is 0. So right here, and that means I'm going to plot the point 0, 1. And that 1 is going to be my y-intercept. So let's draw an arrow to that. That represents the y-intercept. Okay, step 3 is plot the next coordinate from the table on the graph. Okay, so the next coordinate here is 1, 3. So we're going to start at the origin, go over 1, up 3, right there. And then step 4 says starting at the y-intercept, count up or down and over to get the next point on the line. So we're going to start here at the y-intercept, and we're going to do rise first. So we're going to go up 2, so put a 2 right here, and we're going to run 1. So I'm going to write my slope over here. M equals 2 over 1, and 2 divided by 1 is 2. And my y-intercept was 2. So step 5 says how far up or down goes in the numerator, which we said up here was my rise, and how far over goes in the denominator of the slope ratio, which is my run. So that was the 1 right here. Okay, so we're going to use that information to write equations below. Okay, so let's take a look and recall that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And we're going to graph the given table and then write the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so we're going to graph -4, -1. So -4, -1. And then we're going to graph 0, -2. So 0, -2. And then finally 4, -3. Now, when we were talking about the above, it said graph the y-intercept first. I know we didn't, but we're going to use that point and go to the next point. Okay, and I can either go over to this point or I can go down to this point. And I'm just going to go down to this point because that was the next value, 4, -3. Okay, so we're going to start here, and the first number is my rise. So we're actually going down -1. So my rise is -1. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. My run is +4. So my slope, let's write it right here. My slope is -1 over 4, which means if the slope is negative, we put it in the middle of the fraction. Okay, and then let's write the formula here, y equals mx plus b. And we need to write what our y-intercept is. Our y-intercept is where x is 0, so that's right here at -2. And so now we're going to write y equals my slope, which is negative 1/4, x minus 2. And don't forget to take your ruler and let's connect these 3 points because it did say graph the table. So we're going to make a line out of it. And remember, this right here is my y-intercept, and my slope is negative 1/4. Now, I could have went this way, up 1 over negative 4. That would also create a negative 1/4 slope. Okay, let's look at number 2. Okay, so my y-intercept here is 0, 1. Okay. We're going to graph the table, so negative 2, negative 5. Start at the origin, negative 1, negative 2, and finally 0, 1. Okay, so we can write our y-intercept over here. So our y-intercept is 1, and I can circle it right here. And then we're going to go from our y-intercept to our next point, which is right here. So this time I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. So my rise is negative 3. So I'm going to write m for slope, negative 3 over negative 1 because I went left 1. And I've got to simplify that when I have 2 negatives, and 2 negatives makes a positive. So negative 3 divided by negative 1 is going to be positive 3. So my slope is going to be positive 3, and my y-intercept is 1. So I have enough to write the equation, but I should have done this first the last time. Let's go ahead and connect the points. So right here, and remember, I'm going up 3, or my slope is 3, so I can put a 1 underneath. So up 3 over 1, I got to make sure I'm going through this point right here. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1, and I am. And then I also have to make sure I'm going through this point, which I am because I actually marked that point. Okay. So my equation, it needs to be in y equals mx plus b. So instead of writing m, I'm going to write 3, and then I have to put the x. And the y-intercept is positive 1, so we're going to write 3x plus 1. Now, I could also, rather than graphing, I'm putting an emphasis on showing you how to graph it and come up with the slope and y-intercept, but you can also look at the table to get the y-intercept, and you can also do this for the slope. So let's do this real quick. How do you get from negative 5 to negative 2? Good, that went up 3. And negative 2 to negative 1 is up 1. And remember, when you're writing your slope, it's change in y over change in x, so we have to do 3 divided by 1, which is positive 3. Now up here, I had negative because I was going from this point to this point, so I was going backwards. So that's why I was negative 3 and then negative 1, which still gives me positive 3 when I simplify it. Okay, so let's look at the examples on the back. Now here, we need to make sure we make our own coordinate plane, and we're going to still write the equation. So I'm going to count how many, and I think there's about 20, so I'm going to count 10 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I'm going to make a mark right here, and I'm going to take my ruler and make a vertical line, and that will be my y-axis. So let's put y up here, and then I need to make sure I make my x-axis. So we're going to count down 10 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this, of course, is my x-axis. Okay, so if I look at the table, there's my y-intercept. So x is 0, my y-intercept is -3. Now I'm going to need to graph this to find the slope, or I could do the pattern, but I'm going to show you with graphing. So we're going to go start at the origin. Here's my origin, 1, 2, over -3, and up 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go back to the origin, go -1, -1 right here. And then we're going to start at the origin, and if the x is 0, I'm going to not move, and then I'm going to go down to -3 because the y value is -3. Okay, here is my y-intercept, and I'm going to use this point and this point to get the slope. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, so my rise is +2, but my run is -1 because I'm going 1 to the left. So my rise is 2, my run is -1, and now I got to simplify that. 2 divided by -1 is -2. So my slope is -2, and my y-intercept is -3. But before I write the equation, let's go ahead and connect these points. And there's my line. And I've got to make sure I have the -2 in front of the x because m represents the slope, mx plus b, but I'm not going to do plus this time because it's -3, so I'm going to do -3. Okay. Also, one thing to look at is look at your graph, and when I read it like a book, it slopes down, and it better slope down since it has a negative slope. Okay, let's look at our last and final example. Okay, once again, count 10 and make your x and y axis here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. And here we're going to go. I'm actually going to count this. I should have counted this before as 1. Just so I get 10 in both directions. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because what I'm trying to accomplish is a 10 by 10, roughly. Because I think there's one on the classwork where you have to graph 10. Okay, so this is my origin. Okay, and there's my y-intercept, so I know that my y-intercept is 3. We'll put the slope up here. And now let's graph these points. We have -6, 1, so we're going to start at the origin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to go +1 right here. Then we're going to go 0, 3, so I'm not going to move, and then I'm going to go up to 3. And then finally, we're going to go 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, remember when I'm graphing an order pair, I'm doing x, then y. Okay, let's start here. We're going to go up 1 and over 1, 2, 3. And notice when I'm doing my slope, I'm not connecting the points till after I find the slope because it's a little bit easier and less confusing. So up 1 over 3, and that can't simplify any further. So now let's use our ruler to connect the points, and then we'll write the equation, and then we're done. Now you'll notice right here that there's a big gap here. Okay, so I can actually find that missing point in here by doing up 1 over 3. So it's right here. And that's because I skipped -3 on my table. I skipped when the x was -3. Okay, so my equation is y equals mx, and my m is 1/3. Put the x, and since it's +3, I'm going to write +3. Read the line like a book, and notice this slopes up, and that makes sense because I have a positive slope. So that concludes our notes on writing an equation in slope-intercept form from a table. I hope you have a great day.